with your holidays.
When Pixel Rift 1989 launched back in 2018, it felt like the perfect marriage of new and old. Getting to play retro-inspired games in virtual reality, all while managing tasks in the virtual real world, was such a new and original concept. And because it came fully loaded with nostalgia from the heyday of gaming, it was easy to overlook some of its imperfections. But now that the sequel is here, has the novelty of the once innovative gameplay worn out its welcome?
Hypnotized again. I'm trying, but Greg keeps indulging him.
But I win every one like me, and nobody will be mean to me ever!
Well, I'm happy to report that Pixel Rift 1995 is every bit as good as its predecessor, and manages to keep the formula new and fresh at every turn. In fact, if you like the original, I'd recommend you go buy it now and skip the rest of this review, because honestly, seeing what games 1995 pays homage to is half the fun, and showing off any of those will obviously ruin the surprise. Okay, everyone gone? Good. So for the rest of you that stuck around, let's dive into this one a little deeper. Pixel Rift starts off at the tail end of the SNES era and drops you into the shoes of David Keane, a fairly typical gamer kid with a fairly typical family. You're sitting on the floor of the living room playing an action RPG, and every time mom starts threatening to turn off your console, you'll have to grab the toy dart gun off the floor and create a distraction. It's oddly similar to the first stage of 1989, where you had to fire off spitballs to distract your teacher. But don't worry, this is where the similarities end, but also where 1995 begins to differentiate itself by delivering a much more fleshed out and somewhat touching storyline. Each stage of 1995 progresses the story forward just a bit, but is also great about keeping the gameplay fresh. At the game store, you'll be alternating between kiosks playing 2 games simultaneously. The ride home has you controlling Dot riding a motorcycle, while you as David are tossing bananas out onto the road. And probably my favorite stage is when you have to avoid making loud noises in the game, and turn off the TV whenever your mom wakes up to check on you.
I heard it! David? Is everything okay? Am I going crazy?
And the retro video game references, as expected, are literally everywhere. Sonic the Hedgehog, Castlevania, Streets of Rage, and Final Fantasy are some of the obvious ones, but gamers familiar with the era will recognize so many more that it's hard not to love what Pixel Rift set out to do. There are a few issues though. First, I absolutely love the chiptunes and pixel art. They replicate that distinctive look and sound of SNES games to a T. But the exaggerated character designs of the family members, and especially the next door neighbor, are pretty unappealing. It's a minor complaint, and I'm sure most people won't be nearly as bothered by it. What I think will be an issue though, is the short 2-hour length, the extremely easy difficulty, and how a few of the retro games aren't nearly as charming as the ones from 1989, and seem to go on a bit longer than necessary.
I'm not mad or anything, but could you maybe not rock the car, buddy?
It's great to see how Pixel Rift has evolved in its second outing. Its focus on story and family give this entry a bit of a softer edge when put up against the truant feel of 1989. But that doesn't make it any less enjoyable. The nostalgia feels hit home exactly how they're meant to, so anyone who grew up playing games in the 90s will feel right at home in 1995.
Hey, David, do you want to hear a joke about construction? Sorry, I'm still working on it. Get it? Do you need some help back there? You know I'm here for you.